Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Paper Nights. My name is Rob, and this is my pick for the top 5 underused D&D Monsters. They're not necessarily not used, they're not necessarily even that rare, but I think they just deserve more credit than they're given. Number 5, Lycanthropes. It's kind of cheating because it's like 6 or 7 monsters in one, but whatever. Lycanthropes are your werewolves, your were-rats, your anything with were at the start. They're a little bit weak, and they're also very tropey. You go to the town, and there's people there, and they're kind of weird, and they smell like wet dog, and they're slightly more hairy than usual, and they look tired. A really, really cool dual aspect you can do with lycanthropes. You can have lycanthropes that want to have this gift and want to be kind of werewolves, for example. They are trying, to basically make the gift even more pertinent and more strong. And they're basically, maybe they like being a crazy wolf man, and they believe it's a gift. Then you've also got the other side, where you've got people who don't realise what's happening to them, don't understand, or just feel cursed and feel as though they have to live out the rest of their lives in this horrific way of turning into a giant monster and killing all their friends and family. So, how do you use these in a cool way? Well, maybe you make them fight, What about werewolves who want to kill other werewolves who don't want to be werewolves? Yes, that sentence makes sense. The werewolves who don't want to be werewolves have found this ancient artifact that will let them reverse the curse. But the werewolves who do want to be like this forever stay that way and are trying to fight against the others or race them to the artifact to destroy it or hide it or whatever. But you can have this really cool dichotomy between the two to make them less boring and bland, and at night time they kill each other. You make it a bit more interesting. Number 4, Merfolk. Where do you normally find merfolk in RPGs? Underwater caves, underwater kingdoms, and near water. You generally find them as one-dimensional people who look like fish. The problem you have with merfolk, and why they're underused, is because they don't have legs necessarily. Obviously you can homebrew it so that when they come on land they do a kind of whole Little Mermaid type thing and get legs. And so, how do you use them in a more interesting way than just making them kind of this slightly weird people who live in the sea and smell of fish? Well, firstly, you can start off by coming up with a reason why your players would be interacting with merfolk. This is going to happen in one of two ways. Either there is something underwater in merfolk territory that your players want/need, or the merfolk come on land. Now, either way, this can be a bit painful, because if it's underwater, then you have to come up with the whole underwater adventure stuff, which essentially means how do they breathe, how do they move, how do they transport themselves, how do they fight underwater, and make it all realistic and work within your world. Okay, so I'm going to basically use the two versions of them in conjunction. Firstly, I think they should use a kind of more guerrilla war file. Guerrilla style tactic. Essentially meaning, let's say there's a town by the sea, and let's say you have some merfolk in the sea. They might swim up to the shore, get legs, run on land, kill, pillage, steal, and then run back in. That gives a real mystery. Let's say the players figure it out, it's merfolk, they catch them, whatever. Now you've got to go to the portion where they go underwater. Make it snorkels, make it, something original. But essentially, I think they should live more as island people than underwater people. And so have them basically able to move themselves through the water by transforming, but they're predominantly a land people. Or, some kind of underwater cave system maybe, which they come up of, and then you've got oxygen, and then the players have a fighting chance, pun very much intended, to beat them in combat. Number 3. Number 3 is a monster that you will only find if you are rubbish at Splat Book Roulette, because of course I am talking about the Arakora, the first monster in the 5th edition monster manual, and the crazy cool Birdman. The Arakora are underused because
when have you ever seen them used?
If so, disregard this and skip to wherever I stop talking about them. The Arakora are good. The point is Birdmen. Birdmen are awesome. Birdmen can be used in extremely cool and interesting ways because you can have them living somewhere high or even living somewhere low, but they can get anywhere is the kind of point. And the other thing is that the combat tactics that they will use will make your combats more interesting than just there are some guys opposite you with swords. For those of you who watch my DDI method video, you will know dynamic, deadly, and impactful. And these are the 3 principles of combat that I think make it better. And with Arakora, they really lend themselves to this method. Firstly, you've got dynamic, which is the main part. You don't just have 3 guys opposite you, 3 guys on your team, and you just meet in the middle. No. You are standing on the ground, and there are birdmen flying above you, diving you. This means that you can only attack when they come down. This means that you've got to use your brain, that the combat is moving and flowing, and there is an interesting and kind of memorable aspect to this combat that you wouldn't normally have. Number 2, the Kenku. Sticking with the bird theme, these are crazy raven humanoids who are kind of roguish, murderous, evil dudes. Not only do these guys also stick with the DDI method and make it very interesting for your combat to be a bit more interesting. I'm not going to bore you with that again. I'm sure you can figure it out. If not, leave a comment and I will happily explain it to you. The Kenku can be used in any situation because you can always come up with a very simple reason as to why they're there. I mean, that's generally they quite like money or something along those lines, but think about a warlord who has an army of Kenku. I'm scared. For those of you who don't know, the Kenku rely on ambush and crazy murderous tactics to kind of get in behind and stealth. They're essentially rogues, pretty much. But what you can do with them is use them in extremely interesting ways to essentially almost assassinate a member of your party, for example. Say the party are walking through when suddenly a Kenku comes in and attacks him. He's got advantage because it's a sneak attack. He does a ridiculous amount of damage, stabs him in the side. That party member survives, but is not as effective or will be kind of, walking on eggshells in the combat, and that makes for a really interesting encounter. Or if all of a sudden your fighter is taken out by a crazed assassin, and then you attack. Now obviously this can apply to any assassin, so why did I specifically choose the Kenku? They have the ability to mimic any sound they hear. There's just something slightly creepier about kind of Birdman rather than an actual person. It kind of gives the impression that there's something greater at work, because there needs to be motives and that kind of thing, and for an assassin that could just be money, but for a Kenku there has to be reasons why there's birds and why there's Kenku around. So I think Kenku are a really underutilized monster that you can really kind of put into your game and sort of knock your party dead, I guess. Number 1, dragons. I'm sure many of you have seen this coming. I'm sure many of you are thinking, he's an idiot. And I'm sure many of you don't really care. Dragons are very, 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 very powerful, which means that your party has to be high level to beat them, or even stand a chance, which means that they are underutilized because most games take place at about 3 to 5 level. As such, that's why dragons are underutilized. Yes, you've got the little baby ones. Yes, you've got dragon-ish, like dragonoids and whatever, but they're not the full Monty. A real dragon can be a powerful villain, can orchestrate anything. They are intelligent, they have insane magical abilities, and as such, Dragons, I think, are one of the most underutilized monsters in D&D. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've enjoyed the new style of video. Expect many more in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks very much.